Hey, everybody, getting ready to get started. I'd love to have you drop in the chat where you're from. Appreciate everybody being here.
Who's going to be the first to put something in the chat, do you think, Adam?
Who's our bravest attendee? Rutland. Awesome. Now, where's Rutland? I got to be honest.
Oh no, that's in the UK. That's yeah, I
Oh,
think that's a
nice.
UK
Okay.
destination. Actually, the UK's smallest county. There you go.
Nice. Cheshire? Or is it Cheshire?
Cheshire, yeah, that's Pip.
Cheshire.
She's one of our clients. Hi Pip. Yeah, got it right for Rutland. Smallest county in the UK.
Hey, whoever's here from the US, we're falling behind to the UK in the chat
Yeah, come on,
already.
this is good. John from North Yorkshire. Well done, John. But yeah, this is
There
good.
we go, Ashley. Thank you. Our first US comment. Abilene. Robert, welcome. Oh, Austin, Texas. Here we go. U.S. is late to the party, but catching up quick. Wrangell, Alaska. Hey, JR. Let's see. Who else is here? Anybody new that's joined? We're having you drop where you're from in the chat. And we're going to get started here in just a minute or two.
I can see a few of our contacts as well. Got Sylvie. She's said hello. She's from one of our clients, Savil's Place.
Nice. Let's see. I'm going to get in here and see who's being shy.
Yeah, I think, do you know
Oh,
what? I think the UK's won this. Miss Tracy from Newmarket. Yeah.
no. Josh just saved the day. Hey, Josh. Good to have you. All right. We'll let just a few more people drop in and we'll get started. Oh, Tiffany. Thanks for joining, Tiffany. Tiffany's our Myrtle Beach friend. Dayton, Ohio. Hey, Eric. Haven't talked to Eric in a while. I'm glad you're here, Eric. All right, now we're cooking with gas here. Wes. Hi, Wes. Good to have you here. Ashley Brooks is here. All right, when Wes joins a meeting, you know it's time to start. It's the party
That's
can
the cue, is
start.
it? That's the
Yep.
cue.
Once Wes joins, the party has officially started. So, Wes, it's good to have you. Well, I know more people are going to be dropping in. Hey, Sarah, glad you're here. Um, I know we'll have more people dropping in, and if you do come in or just coming in, please make sure to tell us where you're from. But I want to get started. We have a lot to cover today, and a really important conversation. I'm grateful for both Will Wright and Kyle Oland who are here with me, and then Michaela is here from my team helping us kind of keep track of everything that we need to, basically making sure that me, Kyle, and Will don't just start talking to each other and go off on a tangent and lose track of time. She's also done a ton of work to help us get this set up. So it's going to be a great conversation. I want to give everybody a little backstory of how this came to be. And then I'd love to have Will and Kyle, each of you, introduce yourselves as well. For those that don't know, my name's Adam Stoker. I'm the president of an organization called Brand Revolt, and I'm the host of a couple of podcasts in the industry. I'm the host of the Destination Marketing Podcast. I'm co host of a podcast called Destination Discourse that I do in conjunction with Stuart Butler from Visit Myrtle Beach, and really try to talk to as many destination marketers as I can to understand what's happening in the industry and add as much value as I can to the industry. And I've been talking a lot, those that have listened to my podcast know this. I've been talking a lot over the last several years about the importance of some of the changes that are happening in both the marketing space and with consumer behavior. And as I observe some of those things, what I recognize is the importance of a content centric marketing approach is really critical because content is really the key for a lot of organizations to be able to connect with their audiences. People no longer just value the fact that you paid to be in front of them. They need value in the form of education or entertainment in most cases. And so I've been talking a lot about that. And one of the things that I started to recognize as I was talking about that is that the website situation in the destination marketing space has not caught up with some of those consumer behavior changes that were happening. And so as I was looking at that, I had a new friend of mine, Will Wright, reach out to me. He's in the UK and runs an organization called Destination Core. And Will said that he liked some of the things that I was saying and agreed with some of my issues that I had outlined that existed with kind of the standard website product in the destination marketing space. And Will, maybe I could turn it over to you at that point and have you introduce yourself and also what led you to make that phone call and where it's gone since then.
Yeah, great. Well, thanks, Adam. Yeah, so I'm Will, managing partner at Destination Core. So we build websites specifically for the destination industry. And yeah, I'd listen, as Adam said, listen to one of his podcasts and chimed with somebody's thinking, chimed with my thoughts. And we'd been connected through a couple of other things and set up a conversation. And Adam said, "These are the challenges that I see," and I said, "I'd love to have a go at sort of coming up with a solution for those." So got some of our key members of our team involved and went back to Adam with some prototypes about how we thought we could address some of those issues. And kind of Adam quite liked it and said, "Yeah, maybe we should continue this conversation." So a partnership was struck up, and I guess that's kind of led us to where we are today.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Will. And really excited for that. And then Kyle is here because Kyle was going through the process of recognizing some of the challenges with his website and put out an RFP for a website. He and I have known each other for several years at this point. And Kyle, I'd love to have you introduce yourself, what the challenges were that you were seeing, and maybe why you felt like the direction we're headed is the direction you wanted to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. And as Adam said, met Adam a handful of years ago, and we talked about different projects over the years. And this one seemed to be a great one to work with Adam and his team on. But I'm the director of marketing for an organization called Golf Tourism Solutions. Our forward-facing brand is Play Golf Myrtle Beach. We work hand in hand with Visit Myrtle Beach to promote Myrtle Beach as a golf destination and the golf capital of the world. There's more than 80 golf courses played or here. There's more than 3 million rounds played annually. So our organization is the steward of the golf industry here in Myrtle Beach and bringing new visitors here. And one of our key purpose from a marketing standpoint is to build the largest and loyal community possible in and around golf here in Myrtle Beach. And we have a number of different strategies in which we enact to achieve that. But in that process, notice, hey, there's an issue with our current website. It is not helping us reach that goal. And that was a problem. And in having conversations with Adam, him and I have very similar viewpoints on the power of content marketing. Said, hey, this new website needs to better reflect our goals and our overall strategy. And that's what's led us here to this project over the last year.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks, Kyle. And we're excited to hear from you today in this conversation. Logistically, I want to let everybody know kind of how this conversation is going to go. We've got a few different sections, topic sections of the webinar that we'll go through. Throughout that, you're going to see some polls pop up. And as a follow-up from this, you're going to get an email telling you kind of what the results of the poll were at scale. And you'll kind of see where your answers stacked up with everybody else, which I think will be kind of fun. We're also going to try to do a Q&A section at the end of each, or a Q&A session at the end of each topic section of the webinar, so that you guys can have the opportunity to ask any questions you have. Of course, with the number of people we have on here, we may not get to your question. We're also going to try to leave time at the end to answer some questions as well. So we'll try to move relatively quickly through this. Michaela, did I miss anything else on logistics that I need to cover?
No, I think that's great. We do have an intro poll we want to send out to everybody, and then we'll get started.
Great. And while that intro poll's going out, I'm gonna wrap the intro with this, and that's that when you really think about why our websites exist, one of the challenges that I think we have is when digital marketing came out, it caused so many of us to get really excited about the metrics that you can achieve, right? Because we could start to say, okay, if I spend this much money, I can get this many clicks to the website. And then we started to optimize our website for conversion, when in reality, destination websites, the purpose of them was not necessarily to be at the conversion phase of the process. The purpose of the website in most cases was to inspire travel, but this ability to collect data allowed us to demonstrate relevance in a way that we could never do it before. And the result of that was that these websites, and continuing to be optimized for either SEO or for actual conversion, what we ended up with is a lot of web traffic that had been paid for through paid advertising, but that wasn't necessarily, we couldn't truly indicate that it was leading to conversions in the destination. There's a lot of correlation. There's ads that were happening and running, and we could see that somebody saw an ad and showed up in the destination. But were we causing that? But we were reporting to our stakeholders that the traffic that we were referring to our stakeholders was the value we were providing. And some of the things we'll go through today is the problem with having that be the primary KPI that you're reporting on, because if website traffic falls or goes down, all of a sudden the house of cards that you've built with website traffic being your primary value add also falls apart. So let's dig into it a little bit. I do want to actually talk about the fact that website traffic is down, um, because I think a lot of destinations are seeing this across the board. And Will, you guys manage a lot of destinations in the UK and elsewhere. I'd love to have you talk through what you're seeing at scale from a traffic perspective, and then we can get
Yeah.
into why that is.
Yeah, great. Well, first of all, that is the primary thing that we're hearing from every single one of our clients is we're getting less traffic to our website. How do we arrest this? And I think in some ways, what that has done is the first really important part to that is the big picture thing that we're seeing is that traffic is down, and that's because discovery has moved. So people are now discovering things in different places, whether that's through AI overviews. So, zero click behavior, they're getting the information they want without having to click through to a website. But there's also other types of discovery tool like ChatGPT, DeepSeek, Perplexity, Copilot, a whole bunch of those. And let's not forget that, for a long time, we've been seeing a lot of discovery move to social channels as well. So more people, plan and travel from TikTok, from Instagram, that kind of thing. So I think that's the first thing, is that traffic is definitely down. That's going to continue probably to decline. But the good news, the flip side of that, is that the general trend is that intent is higher. So when you're getting people onto your website, they're spending a bit longer, they're taking more of the key actions that you want them to take that would suggest they're actually going to convert into somebody that physically visits your destination. So there's some good news that when you're getting people onto your site, that they are generally more engaged. And I think that puts into spotlight what the actual role of a destination website is. Adam, you've already mentioned this, but a destination website of this nature, the nature all the people on this call are kind of primarily interested in, is to inspire. So you've got to really go back to that core idea of what, where destination websites can win, I guess, and that is in the inspiration phase. You're not going to compete against listing sites like your online travel agencies. You're not going to compete against them for traffic. You should be competing against them for inspiration and where your destination can really win. So I think that's probably a bit of a summary. And then just to finish that little bit off as well, thinking about those different channels that people are discovering content on, is your website set up to help your content be discoverable in things like ChatGPT, and is it giving them the information that they need to make sure that you're getting visibility, perhaps without getting people onto your website?
Yeah. Thanks, Will. I think those are great points. And I want to stay focused on the website, but I do want to say I can't help myself, for everybody listening, if you have built your value proposition for your partners on website traffic as the primary metric, I think it's time to reset some expectations as well, because the value you've been asked to add is to increase visitation in the destination, right? And website traffic does not necessarily, it is one of the possible indicators, but it's not the primary vehicle by which you can generate relevance. And so, Kyle, I want to go to you on this one. I think for you, you're one of the fortunate ones who I think the pie has actually gotten bigger, where your website traffic isn't necessarily down, but you're seeing a lot of your traffic increase elsewhere. And so maybe you could chat through that a little bit.
Yeah, I think, when we look at our website traffic, we were talking earlier, and we get over about 1 million visits a year and to that site. And when we look at, hey, what's the average time on the site? It's about 10 seconds. But then as we're looking at some of our other strategies that we have, we look at our YouTube content, and we have a couple of different YouTube series, a handful actually, but I'll use one as an example. One of those videos will get over 100,000 views. We're just launching a new one today in that series, and the average watch time is 17 minutes. So when I look at it, I say, hey, I'm comparing website traffic and this video. This video gets 10% of the attention that my website gets, and exponentially more actual engagement with the watch time of 17 minutes. So that's kind of led to us thinking, hey, if we're driving all these people to our site, there needs to be the information and the content on there that we know people want to consume. Currently, it does not. That is what's led us to this journey.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Kyle. And Will, do you mind advancing that slide for us here? Uh,
Yeah, sure.
And then does anybody have any questions related to what you're seeing with web traffic that we can address? Whether Will chimes in on what he's seeing at scale, I can also help out, and Kyle can answer any questions related to his comments.
Well, I think just to build on Carl's point there, which I think is a really interesting one. So, Carl, you're seeing all of this amazing engagement with, your video content there. But if people are just consuming that on YouTube, the next step they're going to take is when they're in YouTube is they're going to then probably go off and look at another video within YouTube somewhere. So for you, a big part of the challenge is, can I get them to consume this content within my website so that I can then control the narrative about what they go and see next? Because if they're interested in golfing in Myrtle Beach, you can then suggest other things that are appropriate to them and around that. So actually moving the sort of home location, I guess, of that piece of really valuable content feels probably quite important to you, I would imagine.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think it's also the concept that, hey, we know this content performs, right? So we need to double down on it, and it needs to be in another no, it needs to be on another channel where there's high visibility and high visitation, and set up in a way that is going to be easily consumable for the visitor, while also, as to your point, Will, it's feeding them into potentially other content that's relevant versus because we're not trying to compete with YouTube. We're happy we're getting those views, but we have 1 million visits. We need to do a better job of putting the right information and content in front of them that we know performs.
So it's working in two ways for you. It's working in the way that when you've got that 1 million people that are viewing the website, you're now getting more content to them, which is really valuable and is going to keep them on the site and engaged. But it's also giving the opportunity to say, here's some more stuff that you might like as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great kind of segue into our next section. I didn't see any questions come in, so we're just going to keep going. Maybe people are saving their questions till the end. But one of the things I'm seeing industry wide is that these websites have become, and I think it's because of it originated with great intentions, right? Because we're trying to continue to optimize for conversion, and then we're using website traffic as the KPI that we're presenting to our partners. The problem with that is that it becomes just this glorified directory, something that you can hand out as like a phone book almost, right? For the destination. Some of you that are on may not remember what that is, but a lot of us do know what a phone book was. And these destination websites have become that in a lot of cases. And with where content is going and marketing is going, I've seen a lot of destinations creating really new, unique, and compelling content. But when you try to place that on your website, you have to go 5, 6, 7 clicks deep just to get to the content. And then how do you retain an audience once you do that? And I think that's one of the big disconnects that's happening right now. If the destination website in and of itself was originally created to help inspire travel, and the purpose of it is to inspire travel, well, directories aren't terribly inspiring, right? So I think that's one of the major disconnects that's happening on the destination websites that we see at scale in the space today. And I think that's what led us to start working on a different model. So when we talk about these glorified directories, it sounds great for me to say that that's a problem, but I also know you guys are dealing with major stakeholder issues. So Kyle, I'd actually like to kick it back to you. Your stakeholders demand equal representation on the site, right? And you've got a lot of factors that you have to keep track of. So it's not like we're intentionally creating a site that isn't conducive to a visitor experience or conducive to them consuming the content that they want to. We've got to navigate these stakeholder issues. So when you decided to do something different, how did you think about how it would affect stakeholders?
Yeah, that's that. Obviously, anybody that works in the destination marketing space understands stakeholders. I think one of the things, and maybe you guys will share on it, is hey, because our this is going to be a very content centric site, we want to kind of reimagine how that content can then drive uh, the user or visitor to one of our stakeholders, right? We have concepts in place that as they're watching videos, call to action buttons will appear, and then they'll click over to different, whether it be a golf course, right? That's a great example. They're watching one of our um, matches that's being played at a golf course, and then something pops up in and around Arrowhead, it'll drive them to that place. So those are the ways in which we're still trying to keep that stakeholder mindset top of mind.
Great. Great. And then Will, anything you want to add on that topic?
Yeah, that what Carl's described there about kind of getting people to the content that's most interesting to them and then signposting them off to members and to, is really interesting kind of thought process. And I think, for me, what the big challenge is with any where destination websites can win is, being that local expertise, being that kind of local concierge, I guess, for everything that's great about a destination. And it's balancing that with the needs of members. But ultimately, the more people that visit, then the better all of your members, as a destination are all gonna benefit from that if there's more people coming to your destination. And I think, to come back to the point about websites being glorified listings, you need to think slightly differently about it. Try and move away from here's everything and you make the decision as a user to here's what matters and here's why it matters, and acting as that kind of that real expertise, that local guide. And it's almost like talking to a friend that's visited a destination and them saying, oh, I went to these great restaurants and did these great things, and this is how you get the most out of your visit to that place. That's where a destination website can win, and that's the balancing act that you've constantly got to get right. And then what Carl described is giving people that valuable content, giving people that valuable information, and then just gently signposting them off to those members so that they still get the share of voice that they're paying for, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's critical to mention here that issue is not going away. Stakeholders are going to demand real estate on the website and they're going to demand value from the website, right? And so we're still going to need to have the directory function on the site as a DMO. That's not going away. But what we've identified, and maybe I'll use this as a segue into the next topic, which I think is critical, that structure is not conducive to content. So we've got these two different experiences, right? We've got people are trying, they need to be able to navigate where they need to go within the website, but then they also need to be inspired. And it's very difficult to do those two things at once. And so one of the things that we've tried to do with this new model is to create an experience that is more consistent with where they spend their time elsewhere. So for example, and I don't have the data at my fingertips here, but the amount of time that people spend on a daily basis in streaming platforms compared to traditional websites, it's through the roof, right? You've got Amazon Prime, Netflix, and Paramount Plus, and all the other different streaming platforms that are out there. And yet our websites don't mirror that experience, but we want them to consume our content. That's why they end up on a YouTube, right? And Kyle brought up that point before. And so, Kyle, I'm wondering if maybe you can talk through the growth that you've seen on YouTube, especially compared to the site, and a little bit more about why you want to move that content back onto the site and create an experience that allows them to be comfortable there instead of needing to go to YouTube or something like that.
Yeah, I think it comes back to we've Play Golf Myrtle Beach, we've been investing in content for a number of years. And over the last 2 years, we've been focusing on, or 3 years, our YouTube content. We viewed that as an opportunity for us. And in doing so, we've created a number of different series of reoccurring content that go out. And in that, we've seen tremendous growth. We have one series that organically, we're not putting any paid media behind it to boost visitation or views. 50 to 100,000 views per episode. We have another one that averages about 3 to 4,000, that's for us, to be honest with you, that's a win. So when we created that one series that created 50 to 100, like we were very pleased with it. But in doing so, right, to come back to this idea earlier, right, our website gets about 1 million visits a year. One video gets 100,000. That's just one video. The totality of that supersedes the totality of our YouTube content, and then average watch time across all YouTube content supersedes our website. So we know that, hey, we've created stuff people want to watch. But our website is currently, this was the problem, not set up to be able to properly display that content in an experience that is going to be our best foot forward to push that content to the consumer. So that's where the problem came. How do we display this content that people want to watch in a place we know we're driving visitation to? So that was the problem to be solved.
Yeah.
And that's literally what got us to this point.
Well, and one of the things that you mentioned that just blew my mind earlier is like a regular website visit, your time on site is fairly low. You're talking when somebody watches a YouTube video, they're not watching a 30-second clip. This is a 17-minute episode of a series that they're watching, and you're getting 100,000 views or 50,000 views on this video. If we can pull that traffic into the website, especially if we've built our value proposition for our stakeholders on website traffic, not that I'm saying that's the correct, primary KPI to be using, but pulling that traffic into your site is going to lead to a massive value increase for you as an organization in general, right? And so instead of outsourcing that visibility to YouTube, bringing it in to the website, I think is really critical to maintain the success metrics that we've been using in the destination websites for a long time. Will, what do you want to add there?
Yeah, no, I was just thinking about the other part of this, which is really critical to moving away from the kind of glorified listings, but still giving members that real visibility, is personalization. There's an old marketing saying, isn't it, about right message, right person, right time. Well, actually, that's really critical when it comes to getting people to engage with content on a website, because if we know they're interested in this particular topic, can we give them more of that particular types of content? So really making the site feel incredibly personal to to the individual that's using it, and thinking about ways to do that. So if they're engaging with a bit of content, in Carl's example, which is particularly related to, to go and play golf with your buddies, can we give them more stuff about how they can make the most out of their experience with the buddies, and really kind of personalize that thing down? And again, that's a way where you can win, destinations can win over the places where people might be going to look for this stuff, like OTAs, or where they might make their bookings, or traditionally get their inspiration from. And that's where you want to be taking market share away from. And that ties really nicely back to what you said right at the start, Adam, which is about, people are used to spending their time in Netflix and Disney Plus and Paramount, and the experiences on those particular platforms are incredibly personal, because they've said, well, this person watched this particular content, so I know they're going to like this. So it's actually, how can you really adapt your website away from that kind of, here's just a list of stuff, I'm going to let you take it, to here's a list of stuff I know you're going to be really interested in.
Yeah.
Adam, if I could jump in, like a thought came into my mind that I think probably people on this call can relate to, those that are managing budgets, right? So like over the last few years, we've shifted a lot of the way our budget breakdown is. We're spending more on content than ever before. So when I look at it and my stakeholders look at, hey, how I'm spending this budget and I need to be able to quantify the value, the more places that I can get that content that we're spending more and more on every year, the better from a management position that I'm in, that I can justify why we're doing this. So now, as we move forward, it's not only going to be on YouTube, but we're creating this separate platform where that investment that the organization is making will also be going to. So we're spending that money probably a little bit more wiser in that way, and I think that's really important because that's sometimes things that we think about from the DMO standpoint on how do we justify our budgets.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's another great point. The thing that I would add here is I've talked a lot about the fact that I think the marketing funnel in general is broken, and the new method of getting visitation is the number one thing we're after primarily is attention. People may even be aware of us, but if we don't have their attention, they're not going to care. We have to get attention. And then once we get people's attention, the thing that we're trying to sell is trust. Trust that they can have a great experience. Trust that we have the amenities that they need. Trust is the currency by which we're going to actually get them to come to the destination. And if you think about our current websites, if we're trying to get attention and build trust, there's such a disconnect if we've got a glorified directory, right? But content is the way we can build trust. But if people can't find that content on our site, we're going to have a really difficult time building trust. And so I think that's just another reason I think it's important to have a content-centric website as opposed to the directories that we've had historically. There's been a couple of questions coming in, and I'd like to just break for a second and go over a couple of these questions. And thank you for submitting the questions. Number one is Jessica Turner here. And Jessica says, our site doesn't fully convert. As a DMO, we don't have lodging, booking, or activity set up. We offer upper and middle funnel content, informative and persuasive, but we link out to partner sites for direct bookings with those partners. Do you find this to be limiting for DMO sites? Are most travelers looking to book via DMO sites or preference to book direct with each partner site? For example, lodging, property, website, each activity, individual website. I would think bundling and making it all bookable on one site would be preferred, but not sure that's the case. And I'm not aware of any substantial data that supports a DMO being a one-stop shop yet. It can be argued that the ease of booking in one location would be advantageous and alluring. I think you bring up several really good questions there, Jessica, and I'll give my brief 2 cents that we actually do have booking engines, plenty of them in the space. And most destinations that have added a booking engine or widget to their site are still not capturing enough bookings to come up with like really good data to demonstrate what the impact of their efforts is. And I actually fear that by adding the booking widget on the site, you're going to have a lot of people questioning even more the value that you're bringing because most consumers don't look at destination sites as a booking engine. That's my immediate feedback. Will, I'm wondering if you have anything you want to add there.
Yeah, I think this for me comes back to what is the central role of a destination website and where can you win? And you can win in the space where you're providing inspiration. And that is what people are expecting when they come to a destination website. If I want to book, I know that I can go to booking.com, I can go to Expedia, I know my places that I can book stuff. But what I can't get from those is who's going to tell me how to get the most out of my experience in your destination, and that's where you really have to win. And I think directory listings are a part of that, but they're much further down. You've got to be inspired first, haven't you? You've got to see that video content or that podcast which tells you, if you're coming, here are the 5 best places that you can eat if you like this kind of food. It's got to feel really personal, and I don't think that the expectation is from users that they're going to be able to book. I think it's a bonus if they can. It makes their life easier. But I think the expectation is that they're coming to a destination website like yours to be inspired and to be
Yeah.
told how to get the most out of their experience.
There's another danger to the destination owning the booking, and that's the fact that if someone came to the destination website with the intent of going to one stakeholder, and somehow on the destination website they get converted to visiting another stakeholder, You actually can be accused of being competitive with your stakeholders, which is a can of worms that I'm not sure some of you want to open. So that would be another concern I would have. But Kyle, you may have a different perspective on this because you guys have packagers, for example, on the site that book to multiple golf destinations within Myrtle Beach. So how do you look at that question?
It's a question we're pondering internally, Jessica, about whether or not our site becomes a place where the consumer can book. Um, it, it is a can of open worm. It's a big can, as Adam mentioned, and it's something that we're wrestling with right now. But I will say this, and Adam and Will, you can back me up on this. In these conversations that we've had over the last year on this new website, we've been building it with the optionality to evolve to be able to sell direct to the consumer. That's always been at the forefront because it is something from our standpoint we're exploring for the near future.
Great. Good question,
Yeah,
Jessica. Thank you.
yeah.
So we'll actually keep it moving. Robert, you asked a question about itineraries, and you're absolutely right in your question about itineraries. You said, I noticed that they're missing from the poll. Curated editorial experiences are so important today. No one wants to hunt and peck to find content. You're absolutely right. Let's actually try to come back to that at the end because I think there's a larger discussion to be had there around itineraries, especially we probably need to go through the AI portion of the discussion before we get too deep into itineraries because AI is going to play a major role in the itinerary portion of this discussion. So why don't we actually move into AI? I think it'd be crazy to have a website discussion in today's day and age, especially about the website of the future, without addressing AI's role. And in fact, Pip in the Q&A section has asked a question. What do we do differently to ensure our site is searched by the LLMs? And so we want to, as part of this section, address that question as well, Pip. And thank you for the question. Will, I would like to kick it to you because you, for one, vetted a lot of the different AI tools that are out there because a lot of your clients are asking, okay, what's the best way we can leverage AI on the site? So we're going to talk about AI in the consumer experience portion of the website, but then I also want to talk about structuring the website in such a way that it shows up in the LLMs along with some other tactics that you can use. So let's start on the consumer experience side. What are you seeing from an AI perspective?
Yeah, I think, the really important bit here is, we get a lot of clients that come to us and we need to have AI on our site. And, the question that we would always ask when anyone comes to what are you trying to achieve? What is it that AI is giving you? And I think, AI on your site is not the goal. The goal and the thing that AI can provide you with, if you've got a chat bot or some kind of AI, is it will get people to their answer their question quicker. So it's taking friction out of the website experience. It's got to be about improving the overall experience. And I think if you've got a tool and you're using AI and it provides a bad experience, I would suggest that's going to be worse than not having AI on your site at all. Because if the user experience isn't as good as it could be, or it gives a bad set of results, or it hallucinates, or it starts going away and answering a question from content that's not on your site, providing an answer for question for content that's not on your site, then that is that's a bad user experience, isn't it? So I think when you're thinking about bringing AI onto the site, the most obvious thing is how do I make it feel like a chat GPT experience? But I think there are other parts to AI as well. That can be trending content, that can be people also like, that can be smart suggestions. You don't just have to think of AI as a thing that can give you a kind of chat GPT experience. There are many different implementations of AI, some of which have been around for an awful long time actually, and we just didn't really call them AI before. But it's using those tools in the best possible ways. I think if I had to give a tip to any destination, it would be selectively use AI for stuff that improves the user experience, but keep that central to your kind of your usage, I guess, around AI.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I believe about with where websites are going in the future is for one, people are going to expect AI to give them the ability to personalize their experience and customize the vacation that they want to have, right? And so there's a lot of great tools out there. I know Robert's here from Mind Trip. I know that one of the technologies that we've looked at is Algolia, and I think that's what we're planning on implementing on the Play Golf Myrtle Beach site. There's a lot of great tools out there from an AI perspective. And I think the important thing for a destination to do is you most definitely need one of those tools on a site. I would not develop a website without having an AI tool implemented from this point forward. Which one you choose, it depends because each of them have strengths and weaknesses, and it depends on what you're trying to accomplish. If your goal is hyper personalization, then that's really where you need to focus with the different AI partners that you're interviewing as part of the process. If you're looking for, well, I want the very best customer experience possible. Okay, well, that's what you because there's some. In fact, I'll call out Mindtrip here. They've done a great job of making it feel like an AI experience that you would have within ChatGPT. It's kind of a hybrid experience, right? So I think there's a lot of really great tools out there, but you have to decide what's your goal with the website first. What's your priority? And then choose the partner that is tailored most to your priority on that. And I think there's some great partners out there to do that. Kyle, how are you thinking about the AI implementation we're working on the site?
Yeah, I think Will began to touch on it. Like I always look at AI from our standpoint, and I look at the consumer and what consumer behavior is. And consumers want information faster than ever, right? If we can't deliver information at the speed in which they want it, then we're going to lose them. They're going to go somewhere else. So when we look at the AI implementation on Play Golf Myrtle Beach, it's providing relevant information that the consumer wants in a personalized manner at a speed at which only AI can deliver it. So that's when we look at it. That's how we're looking at how is it going to provide value to the users and what they're expecting in their day-to-day search activities.
Great, great. And I want to address. Oh, go ahead, Will.
Sorry,
Did you
go on.
want
I
to
was
chime
just
in?
going to say, yeah, because it was as I was preparing a bit for this, I was trying to think of what are the, if there was a few kind of key tips that we could give somebody for AI, what would they be? And I come up with earlier sort of four things which I thought that any AI on a destination website should do. Number one, it needs to reduce cognitive load. I don't want to think as much as a user. Does it do that? I think it needs to be really good at joining the threads. So, bringing together that kind of personalized content. You're coming with your dog, you're coming with your young family, you want to play golf, whatever that might be. Like really joining those threads of the different content that sits on the site, more sort of itinerary based stuff. It must move people towards decisions. I always talk about someone's an online visitor, you want them to be a physical visitor, you've got to close that gap. Does the AI help you close that gap? And then the one, and I keep coming back to this, does it help you feel like a trusted source of authority? Let's give you that feeling of being your local concierge. I think if it does those four things, then the answer is yes, this is the AI for me. But those are the kind of four key threads for me around AI.
So
Love that.
Will, so we use a term like here in Myrtle Beach from a golf standpoint is everybody wants a guy, right? You've got that guy that can be your hookup. That's kind of like when we envision the AI component. That's your guy, right?
Yeah.
Just a virtual guy that's going to get you what you want when you want it. So it's a really cool way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if there is like if you think of that as a physical person, if you did have that guy, he does all of those things, doesn't he? He reduces the cognitive load, he joins the threads, he helps you towards the decision. He is your trusted local. So yeah, it's an even more concise way of saying it, Carl.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I want to go back to Pip's question and make sure that we get Pip a specific answer here as well. So there's two things that I would say. Number one is your site has to be built to schema. And if you don't know what schema is, Will most definitely does and can help you figure that out. But schema is the structural implementation that gives you the best chance of being found by the LLMs and your content being indexed by the LLMs. The other thing that I would say is, and this is non-website, but today, this might change, but earned media right now is being valued higher by the LLMs than any other form of media. And you've got the owned media guy saying that, right? Like I've been preaching the gospel of owned media for a long time, but earned media is one of the very best ways to get your content to show up in the LLMs because the LLMs are looking at those trusted media outlets as authorities. And so those are the two things that I would make sure of day one. Make sure your website is structured to schema standards. And then I would also make sure that I'm upping my earned media strategy moving forward so that I can show up in those LLM results. So hopefully that answers your question there, Pip.
Yeah, I think to add on to that, Adam, you've talked about kind of some technical stuff around schema, but I think as well, coming back to content, the way that people are making searches for travel decisions now has completely changed. Actually, the way people are making decisions around all the stuff and searching for things has changed completely. We're no longer searching for kind of keywords. We're searching for questions, aren't we? And we're looking for answers to those questions. I
Yeah.
mentioned this. Pip will know this because she's one of our clients and been banging on about the value of FAQ style content for such a long time with our clients. Make sure that you are answering the questions that people are asking. Like, this is the easiest way to get visibility in any search engine. Whether that's Google, which is AI now, whether that's Chat GPT, people are just typing questions into them, and
Yeah.
and those questions are getting more contextual as time goes on, as people get used to these tools, as they become more ubiquitous. So that's the first thing. Look at all of your content, and is that answering a genuine question that someone's asking? So I think that's like the
Yeah.
kind of the best quick tip that I can give for making sure you're getting that visibility.
Great. Thank you, Will. I want to move on because I know everybody here doesn't want to just hear us talk. They kind of want to see something. Before we share some of the concepts that we will, I want to caveat with one thing. What I didn't want to do in today's discussion is steal Play Golf Myrtle Beach's thunder on what their new website is going to be. And so what you're seeing here, and don't press play yet, what you're seeing here is meant to be more of a conceptual representation of what the Play Golf Myrtle Beach site is going to become. These are prototypes. And then Play Golf Myrtle Beach is actually going to handle the public release of their site. Maybe we do a regroup when that time comes, but we're giving you the conceptual idea of what this site is going to look like and what we're in the process of building today. You're even going to see some AI generated images that on some of the golf pictures and stuff like that. So I want to make sure everybody understands this is not like the final Play Golf Myrtle Beach website, but you'll definitely get the gist of what this experience is going to be like, how the AI integrations are going to work, and most importantly, what's that uh, content section of the site going to feel like for the user. And I think you'll see some consistencies with your streaming experiences. So go ahead, Will.
Yeah, you have to tell me when you want me to hit pause, Adam, if you want me to hit pause
Okay.
at all.
So I do want you to pause right here.
Oh,
That was
I'll
pretty
just do
quick, wasn't it? Sorry about that.
that.
Number one, when you get to a website, the homepage needs to have two purposes. Number one, you need to identify who someone is as quickly as possible and serve them the content that's most relevant to them. Or you need to get them to take an action in some way, shape, or form. That's why this pop out here, and it's an AI is going to play a part in this in identifying which partners are going to be best here. But it's really critical to get them to take action quickly and not have them get lost. So identify who they are, show them what they want to see as quickly as possible. Go ahead, Will. So you're going to see us kind of work through some of the experiences that are going to be on this type of a website. And you can see the AI tool in the bottom right-hand corner here, helping personalize the experiences that people are going to have. Um, we'll let everybody just kind of watch it go through for a minute. And this is Algolio, like I said, is the AI interface that we've incorporated on the site. Obviously, once they select, you're going to want to make sure they get the right content for what they select. And you can kind of see how that's going to work here. Some of these AI images are fantastic. But as you can see, this is a much more content-centric website than what we're seeing in a lot of these glorified directories on today's DMO website.
But I think what's important here as well, Adam, is that those sort of listing style stuff has been weaved into that content, so that it's getting that overall experience, the blend of the two.
In a much more consumer-centric way, right?
Mm.
So we'll let everybody kind of watch us go through that. And then we're about to get into, once you click into the content, once somebody actually starts consuming a video or something like that, it drops them into an experience that's designed to help them stay. So this is it here. So if somebody's watching a Bros versus Pros, which is one of the series with the Bryan Bros that they have in Visit Myrtle Beach, you're going to be able to get in and see a whole lot of their other content, and it'll queue up just like it does within your normal streaming platforms. And it's designed to keep your time on site really high. The time that they would normally spend on a YouTube or something else, some other platform, we want that to happen here on the site. And that's what this media portion of the site is designed to do. So, Kyle, I'll actually have you chime in if you want to add any thoughts on what people are seeing here and how this tied to the strategy that you were hoping for from the get-go.
Yeah, I think you might have mentioned something when you were talking about the AI options out there for people to go with is going with a partner that best fits what the goal is the individual is trying to accomplish. And that's ultimately why we decided to go with Brand Revolt because of that shared belief in the power of content marketing and the power that that has in your marketing mix. So I'm really excited about I've said content so many times, but how what we create will be displayed on Play Golf Myrtle Beach. It's hands down different than what it currently is if you were to go to our site. And I think, Will, you've shared multiple times about the idea of inspiring. When I look at websites, what are the purpose of websites? I break it down into kind of three buckets. You're either buying something, you're going someplace to commune with others, or you're going for entertainment, education, to be informed or to be inspired. We hit that last one. So we have to make sure it's the best possible of that because we're not selling anything. Our goal, and we're not talking about it today, is but to also have a commune aspect of our website, and we will get to that point. But that's our goal, and I believe that this is going to help us accomplish that idea.
Right. Thank you, Kyle. So that's kind of the general gist. We went through a lot of the challenges that are happening in the space. We've gone through what our recommended solution is, and hopefully you were able to visualize that a little bit with the prototypes that we shared just now. We're relatively early in the process, and the exciting part is we have a couple of other destinations that we're about to start with as well as we continue to evolve this concept. We've got a few questions here, and I want to make sure that I get to these questions. Wes Ray has been incredibly patient here, and it's always a dangerous game when you turn on Wes Ray's microphone. So we might have to see what happens here. But Wes, I'm excited to hear what your question is, and Michaela's going to give him the ability to chime in.
I actually hit the button by accident. So, um, but I find it interesting, this conversation about listings, because they're very frustrating and I don't like them either, but they're kind of a necessary evil. But we are definitely a content focused site. One of the things we're trying to do is on a lot of our listing pages is put blogs first and content first on those pages, so little content blocks, so that when they go to a things to do page, they don't see the vomitous list of listings. They see, three pieces of curated content around things to do. Maybe it's family, maybe it's wine lovers. Do you think that's kind of the direction we should be going? I mean, where do you see listings going? Because, stakeholders want to be seen. And so are we just trying to bury them deeper and deeper? Because we're measuring handoffs as a success metric. So I think that's a positive. If we lost all the listings, right, we wouldn't have those success metrics. So what are your thoughts on the future of kind of listings and how we should integrate them into our site or move away from them?
Yeah, Will, I've got some thoughts, but I want to hear
Yeah.
what your reaction is.
No, it's really interesting to hear you say that, Wiz. So a lot of clients that we're working with, one of the strategies that we're talking about, because a lot of destinations are still going through the kind of the journey of getting that kind of really rich content, the video content, the podcast content, and still people are quite early in the journey for a lot of that stuff. But what you have got, which is incredibly valuable, is your blog content where you can put those inspirational things. And one of the strategies that we've been working with a lot of our clients on is to prioritize that content at the top of landing pages, so it can feel much more inspirational for people when they turn up on those landing pages and get that kind of, yeah, here's a great piece of content, which makes me feel like I'm talking to a local and has given me that local expertise. But I think your strategy is right, where you still need to have those listings and they still need to be a part of that experience, because ultimately when somebody has read that inspirational content, they need to be able to take the next action, and that next action is going to be, I need to engage with one of these businesses, I want to attend one of these events, whatever that is. So actually that's a really good strategy. I think if you want to build on that, it would be, how can you get that more entertaining content, on top of that, with the podcasts and with the video content.
Yeah, I think I would just add to that I see these listing pages eventually becoming pages that have also all of the content that's ever been created that mentions. Now, all that's ever been created is probably a little aggressive, but at least a bevy of content related to that listing, so that for one, if a customer is coming and wanting to learn more about that establishment, they can see it through the content. But in a more content-centric marketing strategy, I almost see these being kind of a micro content hub for each individual listing that's been mentioned in your content. And that's kind of the paradigm shift that I see, is they're getting kind of their own little miniature content hub if we're doing this correctly. So hopefully that's helpful, Wes. And I want to get to a couple more questions here, but thank you so much, Wes, for your question. I've got my questions isn't popping up for some reason. Oh, there it is. All right. So Sarah says, do you think AI tools in travel and tourism will be consumed by advertising and monetization like social media? We're excited that AI could help visitors tailor their travel to their needs and preferences and help them discover locals and smaller businesses, not just large brands with big budgets. However, it feels like many of the AI tools out there are moving towards ad monetization models eventually. I'm going to keep this one relatively. Oh, she actually clarifies. She says, to clarify my question, the AI you're showing us on the Myrtle Beach golf site is a great example. Will those types of tools that destinations can integrate continue to tailor answers and recommendations to the person searching and what they request to do on the site, or will they eventually move to models where different brands pay to be more visible? So there's two sections of this. Number one, I would never bet against economic incentives at a macro scales, which means, yes, I believe that most of these AI platforms are going to start allowing monetization to influence their results. And I don't know if that's terribly avoidable. But at the destination level, what we're showing here, I don't believe that we should allow finances to decide what the results are of the AI searches that happen, because then you're losing personalization in exchange for commercialization, and that's not best for the user experience. So I guess at a macro level, yes, I think unfortunately your fear is correct. At a micro level on these destination websites, I don't think that commerce should influence the results of the AI tool, because that's not the customer experience we're after.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I would think with any destination website, you've got to figure out how to put the user, or the visitor, I don't like the word user, but the visitor first, and actually, how do I get content to them which feels really relevant to their particular needs at that particular time? Comes back to right person, right content, right time. So you need to make sure that you're keeping that at the heart of it. And that ultimately, if you do that, your stakeholders will benefit, because if you give them the most personalized content, they're more likely to visit and spend time and money in your destination.
Great. And
Adam, there's a great
John,
question from John here, who's one of our clients, and
awesome.
I'm gonna bat that one over to you, because I think that you've got some good answers to that, and some stuff we've talked about before.
Yeah, so John says, any tips for helping some more traditionally minded businesses and stakeholders move away from that measurement of web traffic and referrals? In a lot of ways, it's not a new problem. I've lost count of the number of food and drink businesses who measure the value of their partnership with us through clicks to their website, not customers coming through the door. The difference is the concept is now even more abstract to the business owner unless we bring them with us. So the harsh reality here, John, is this is a problem of DMOs creating a creation. Like destinations have trained stakeholders to be dependent upon the website clicks and traffic that come from the DMO site. And the only way you're going to change that is through educating them on consumer behavior and marketing behavior in general. And I think one of the critical things is that a website visit does not equal someone actually coming to a restaurant and dining in the restaurant. And so we're going to have to talk about what are the indicators that that's actually happening. What we've done is gotten too dependent on that specifically as the KPI that defines our value. And we need to have a serious discussion about what is our true relevance and value to each individual business. And that's going to require a lot of back and forth and discussion and to retrain them on what KPIs matter. Kyle unmuted. I want to know what you're going to add here, Kyle.
Yeah, that's that question you brought up is a question that we've had to answer. And I'll use an example of the traditional website listing versus content to try to achieve the same goal of driving inspiration for a consumer to make a decision. So we have a series called Bros versus Pros, and it's a competitive golf playing match with two YouTubers that are highly visible in the YouTube golf space. We've utilized their personalities, their popularity to bring them to play on our golf courses. So our goal in that is not the match. We could care less. That's the hook to people to bring people in. What we're showcasing is the golf course. So a listing on our website is also showcasing the golf course. But what we've been able to show our stakeholders is that, hey, through this vehicle, this video, we've been able to drive 100,000 people to watch about your golf course. And then here's just some very quick, just, hey, it's not quantitative, but go look in the comments and you'll see how many people are saying, wow, that's a beautiful golf course. I have to play that. And that's just the people that commented, not the other 99% that have watched it. So it's trying to train them that, hey, this new vehicle is trying to achieve the same goal. It just looks a little different in modern day marketing.
Yeah, great answer. Well, and I would love to continue this conversation. Maybe we'll make this a series or something where we can go a little deeper on that topic, John. If we left you hanging, I'm sorry. Time's up, so really appreciate everybody joining today. Hopefully this has been valuable for you. We do have a follow-up where we're going to send you the different polls and the results of those polls, and also some documentation of how you can self-reflect on your own website and decide the status of your own website. And if any of you want to explore this new model of a website that we've built in conjunction with Destination Core, please, please, please reach out. Adam at thebrandrevolt.com. Will, if they want to reach you.
Yeah, will at destinationcore.com.
Awesome. And then Kyle, if anybody has any questions for you.
They can reach out at kyle.oland@golftourismsolutions.com.
Perfect. Thanks, Kyle. Thanks, Will. Thanks, Michaela, for your time. And thank you, everybody, for attending. Really appreciate your contributions, questions, and we're excited to chat more if any of you have additional questions.
Thanks, everyone.